Hello, our friends, Hearts Home family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. And we want to thank again our Patreons as you guys are supporting us, keeping us going in these times of challenges, to say the least, as we woke up to find our website hacked. So we just mentioned our website like,
Yesterday.
was it yesterday? I think it
Yeah.
was yesterday or the day before, for the first time in a long time. And we wake up this morning and it's hacked and most of it's gone. So, oh, work ahead, work ahead.
We had quite a few testimonials on there. I mean, and we can get those back. That's not a problem, but it does take hours to sit here and put the testimonials up and and kind of redo everything. So, yeah, I guess life happens, but everything has purpose, right?
It does. It does. And again, life is an opportunity, and this is where things new happen that allow us to later on create new worlds for ourselves to explore through things that we learn when we're in this 3D matrix, so to speak. You know, it was hitting, Cindy was saying this morning how there's no pain, physical pain. There's no cold. There's no hot. There's no taste when we are in the astral. When we're outside of the body, it's really in the body that we experience so many things. And this is one of the things I've noticed. And as a kid, I was led to keep a dream journal, and I don't really keep a dream journal on a daily basis anymore. Every now and then, when some dream really hits me, then I write it down. Something that I feel like, okay, write this one down. And there's been a lot of those that I haven't written down lately that I know are notable. But it seems like I could always pull them up now. And I think part of that's through training. And as you explore the astral realm, you will be able to pull up things that might surprise you. And at the same time, there's really nothing to fear there. There really is nothing to fear there. The only fear that exists is literally in our own minds.
Our minds can really give us a lot of grief, being trapped in there. And I don't know if you guys have ever had a really horrible thought that goes through your mind, and following that thought, you can feel like these horrible other emotions in your body. And a lot of times people get trapped in that, and then they have this broken record going around. And in that sense, yeah, you can really get stuck in there. But I mean, these are things that I've always known, but last night it really hit home, and I kind of wanted to talk about it because I had a horrible headache last night, all day yesterday, all night last night. And the only time I got relief was when I was able to fall asleep. And then I'm in dream time and I'm having my dreams. And of course, the headache's not there. But then upon awakening, point 2 seconds right after I wake up, boom, the headache is right back. And it just reminded me when people are losing a loved one and a loved one is in really bad shape, and say it's something so sad and horrible like cancer or an accident, the first thing they say is, well, they're no longer in pain. Or with your pet, and the pet passes, the first thing that's known to us or that we say, well, they're no longer in pain. And that's because we're not here in this 3D density. We're not having that experience any longer. We've moved on to a different place. We've moved on to a different time, a different experience. So we have a whole nother set of senses to remember and understand. And the other things that we do not experience on that side is taste, hot, cold, pain. So it really is, kind of walking into a different realm. And I always say that pain is our greatest teacher here on earth. So when we are in pain and we are uncomfortable, we're emotionally uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable, it certainly makes us scamper to try to find a solution for it because it doesn't feel good. So pain has a purpose. Using it correctly, it can really bring us a lot of expansion.
Absolutely, absolutely. All this is something that we've mentioned before in bits and pieces, but I was just thinking, we need to do a video to just, bring this to light again and focus on this. So many times, I've had dreams, and then in my dream I might be sitting down to an amazing meal, but now I'll recognize that I'm not tasting anything. It's just so apparent to me, and it's so clear that things can look wonderful, but there's no flavor. Or, have you ever had this one? This happens to me all the time. I find myself miles and miles away, sometimes states away, as I've moved so much in my life, lived in so many different locations, and I'll be thinking, I got to walk back home, and I look down, and I have no shoes on. And okay, I got to walk home through, an inner city or something in bare feet. And, how bad is that? It's not, ideal, but at the same time, my feet aren't cold. No, and they're not getting cut because, again, in the astral, when we're out of the body, we are just pure consciousness. We are pure energy. And the reality is that this world does have its benefits, and it does have its detriments. It is a world of extremes that we don't experience when we don't have a physical body. And again, I shared with you guys the out of body experience when I was 5 and my brother had died. And, my brother died from a brain tumor that now I realize, that there was definitely an ouchie that was in there with that as far as a cause. And I found myself behind my body, my physical body, seeing my body stare at the kitchen wall and standing right by the kitchen table. And I was just kind of thinking, where's my brother? Where's my brother? And then he was right next to me. And he just told me, you're not your body, And that always stayed with me. And my aunt's house, our family house, quote unquote, which was in a horrible part of a town, or not a town, a city, where there was shootings all the time. Wasn't the case in the 1930s when my mom's family was living there. There was literally 13 people living in this house, getting through the depression and really having the best times of their lives, because again, they came together as a unit, and it was really wonderful. Like, she grew up, she was born right at the crash and grew up all through World War II and the Depression, and yet her childhood was wonderful. I mean, she would always say, I had the best childhood. And it was a blessing because aunts and uncles lived in the house with them, So, and again, that was way before TV and everything. They would listen to radio together as a family, but it was way before TV. And you could walk, safely without fear. And that was a beautiful thing as well. Well, I would find myself time and time again in this house. And in reality, I always thought the house was haunted. It felt haunted. But in deep meditation, what I came to recognize was my spirit was in that house before I actually was ever born. I was in the house. I was the thing that was, quote unquote, haunting it. My consciousness was. And it was my connection to these people who, again, often we incarnate with the same groups for the most part. We tend to stay in soul collectives, soul families. It's not always exclusively that, but it's often. So what I was feeling was I was feeling myself when I didn't have a body hanging around the house, because that was the center point with the family I was going to incarnate into in the latter decades. So I was that was haunting, and that really hit me so clear. And then it's like, all that fear went away as I recognized that it was me, but I didn't have a body. I was just pure consciousness roaming the halls, so to speak.
I mean, so many things that we can look back and remember from childhood if you meditate on it or think about it, and we can bring back that essence that we had when we were young. And the elderly and the very, very young, I find to be closest to that veil. And I love the innocence of the young. And then with the elderly, I love their innocence about them because it's like they regain it toward the very, very end. I remember my grandmother, she was so childlike toward the end, and it was just such a joy to visit her. She had no, I mean, she had no agenda. She was just there to love and be loved, just like a child is there to love and be loved, just like a puppy. Our animals are probably the most innocent of all. They just want to love and be loved. So to me, those are the closest parts of the veil. That's not to say that we don't have nightmares or we don't experience fear in our dreams, but I think a lot of that is processing, and sometimes we might even be tapping into a different timeline. But as far as out of body experiences, besides the sleep paralysis, because those never felt very voluntary, I have been able to pop out of the body a couple of times. And the one time I did pop out and I did get to see Source and experience Source and the love of Source and the vastness of information and knowledge that I carried within myself was just so great. I mean, every single person I had had contact with, my relationships, everything that had happened to me in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, like everything just came to me in a flash. And I realized, because that is information, and light is information, and light is also instant. So that's why it's taken me so long to unpack my experience that I had when I was able to see Source. But I can tell you one thing, that it was a huge blessing because I needed it. I was at a point in my life where I didn't understand a lot. I didn't know why so many things had happened. Why did I have to go through that? And I was able to get some information from Source in a very odd way, where I didn't have to have a near-death experience, but I was definitely having, it was like an NDE. It really was. It was so curious and interesting. But last night, the pain, and I know you guys have experienced it too, and I think part of this channel is fun because so many of us experience the same things, but how many of us really get to talk to one another about it? And you guys get to comment in the comments about it, and you get to have experience with one another, because so many of us are in a situation where nobody really cares right now, unless it's yourself. I mean, our family members, they might love us, our friends, they might love us, but who do we really have to bounce this stuff off of? And that's what makes this channel, I think, unique and different, because we have each other, and we're able to talk about things like this and process things like this. Why? Because it's important to us. It might not be important to anyone else, but we're all at a point in our lives where we find this very interesting and curious and fun to explore.
So when we're off projecting our consciousness elsewhere, because again, we're connected. Many traditions speak of, and Cindy's actually seen the silver cord that keeps us connected between the astral body and the energy bodies and the physical body. Again, when the physical body is no more, we just simply discard it. So this is where the Sanatana Dharma, the basic Hindu belief set, which is also found in many other traditions and in the esoteric traditions, is correct. Yeah, the body is it's a vehicle to get around in. You could think of it as a biological robot of sorts that is created in order to explore this density, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it's not intended to be permanent. And again, we are always most of us are looking to have new experiences. And I don't get that we are forced to reincarnate either. And Cindy, we've had discussions on this. She doesn't either. It feels like, again, there's nothing that hasn't been touched by this control system. And even when we go into, again, that Hindu Vedic system, that's been affected by this control system too. As you will find that there's many, many, many different outlooks. There's these different subset philosophies within the larger family of philosophies. And, it's just, it is fascinating to look at that. But what we get is not really completely what any one tradition definitively says is the case. Yet the vast majority of the time, as I was saying before, I find that basic Taoism, yeah, kind of in agreement with most of what's there. Same thing with the Western mystery traditions, and same thing with the basic tenets of Hinduism. The soul does transmigrate. Reincarnate is alluding to coming back as a human all the time, which is not really the case. It does transmigrate, and it can actually break itself up into smaller pieces and have multiple experiences at once, which is something that I really didn't get, I don't think, from studying any philosophy. And I've purposely tried to study every single philosophy out there, starting at about, 10, 11 years old. So, but that's because my Jupiter is with my Rahu, and where it's located, it makes me have this insatiable quest for knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, you can see a lot of this stuff in people's charts sometimes. If
you can see everything.
yeah, you can. But sometimes that helps people. And I was really fortunate. I got to do two beautiful charts yesterday, people that were extremely unique and that I enjoyed talking to them about their charts and talking to them, giving them the answers to the best of my ability. And it gave them something for them to help them understand their lives and what they had gone through. And it's like, why did this happen to me? And why did that happen to me? And what can I expect? And it was just really beautiful conversations with people where I'm able to go in. And I humbly say that I do read Vedic charts, but my gosh, I'm nowhere near a lot of the professionals out there. But I do look into the charts and I can see past lives, and not only past lives, but I can see outside of the chart. Like yesterday, I was able to see someone. I saw her chart, but then I was also able to see her higher self. And where is her higher self in this chart, and where was she located? So that's fun. These things to me are very fun, and I thoroughly enjoy them. And I find myself to be a little bit different in the sense where I'm not by the book. I go a lot by my psychic connection. And before I do any chart, I sit and I connect to the planets, to that person, so we get all the information that they need for that session. And to me, that's just fun to help people get answers and understand their lives, as they lived it, and to give them more expansion where they're at now.
Absolutely, yeah. And Cindy's very, very modest because, yes, there might be some people that are more studied in Vedic astrology than her, but she could read more than the birth chart. Yet how many people can, on call, bring back grandmas and grandpas and great-grandmas and great-grandpas and, immediately see where others are all throughout the astral realm, or if they're up in 5D, or if they're already reincarnated again. Again, that's unique. But it's not unique in different ages. That's the thing to get across. In a golden age, everything is totally different as far as the perspective. So this made me think of this movie, which I haven't seen in since probably a year, maybe or two after it came out. What Dreams May Come. A lot of people will talk about this as being one of the best movies that Robin Williams ever did. And of course, Hollywood is all about controlling the narrative and all, but often there is some stuff in there that is given to us, which is fairly accurate, usually with a twist that is inaccurate. But it's interesting. The plot is, while vacationing in Switzerland, pediatrician Chris Nielsen meets artist Annie Collins. They marry and have two children, Ian and Marie. Their idyllic life ends when the children die in a car crash. 4 years later, Chris is also killed in a car crash. Unaware that he is dead and confused that nobody will interact with him, he lingers on Earth. And then, goes through a series of visions. And in so many ways, you go back to that A Christmas Carol and, connecting with the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. And, all these makes me think of a Abbott and Costello movie, too, The Time of Their Lives, which I loved as a kid. And it's about Revolutionary War time. And these two people are shot during the Revolutionary War. A curse is put on them. They're labeled traitors. Their bodies are thrown into a well, and their ghosts are basically doomed to haunt this one manor until they're released and proven to be innocent, according to the story. So much of what goes on in the astral is all about sorting. It really, really is. It's about the higher self learning the lessons. It's about rerunning things, as I find myself time and time again back in, my first job, or one of my first jobs. And there I am again, and I don't want to be back there. But I'm relearning things and key characters. Now that brings me to Dark City and thinking about the Kiefer Sutherland character in Dark City that's always popping up in the main character's life at different spots. Why is he so key? Is he an inserted memory? Is it all an alien implant? Or is there something else going on?
There's just so many fun things to pull out. And I do remember when I popped out of my body and I did see Source, it was exactly that. It was about it was about filtering this information that we get. What comes to the surface? What needs to be processed now? What's the most important thing that you need to know? And to me, that's processing. That's processing your way through this 3D journey. Because we did come here for the senses, the taste, the touch, the smell, the hear, even the pain. We came here for the pain. Dare I say, maybe mostly for the pain, because it brings us so much expansion. And a lot of people ask me, why? Why did I choose to come here to this crazy world? And the very unpopular answer is, we get bored. We get bored. we need experience. We crave it at the very core level of our being. So here we go again.
Yeah, because we are, again, eternal. We are eternal. And this is where, again, when we look to some of the largest religious systems and philosophies out there, through our own direct experience, we see that they're just not accurate. And they are controllers systems, because it's all about putting hands in the power of somebody else. But the reality is we are untamed consciousness that can't be controlled unless we allow ourselves to be controlled by the system. And it really is up to us. So it's interesting, like in this movie, he finds himself awakened in a heaven that he has created with his imagination. His surroundings are a mountainous landscape that resembles a painting that his wife did, and similar to a place where the two desire to spend their old age. Yeah, we create our own heavens and hells. And this is, again, why the system is always looking to pull us down. Because if our consciousness can't escape the trauma and the tragedy that we see here on Earth, the chances are the soul is going to reincarnate in the same vibratory frequency. This is where we have to lift ourselves above and beyond. I've been blessed throughout my life to be able to hear my guides clearly, and our one of our people that we had yesterday has had the same, where all of a sudden just heard a voice telling you something. I don't know where that voice came from. Uh-oh, they're going to lock me away. No, I mean, this is truly how our guides will speak with us. And I've shared with you guys when I was on Christmas vacation as a 5-year-old kid, I didn't want to go back to school. So I got sick, and the guides called me out and said, you allowed yourself to get sick purposely so you could have a longer Christmas vacation. And then it hit me, and it's like, well, they found me out. Same thing as a early teenager with strep throat. I allowed myself to get sick. I didn't have to get sick. And this is, again, why, as an adult, I've stayed out of the MED system, because I realize it is really mostly a case of if we stay clear of the lower frequencies, and everything in this world is about lowering your frequency. Understand that. You're behind enemy lines, so to speak. Yet your consciousness at any time can rise up and beyond their grasp. It's just a matter of understanding how this really, really works.
And that takes time. And to do that, that's where the mind, body, breath work comes in and can help you find those answers. Because, sitting here speaking to you today, I can't tell you, I've been so frustrated because I'm in certain situations happen in my life, and it's like, I don't need this. I don't want this. This is really painful. This is really scary. And somebody's telling me that I called it into my life somehow. And that's just really wrong. And I'll get angry. Sometimes I just get flat out upset because I don't like what's going on. But through that upsetness and through that anger, and even as I speak to you right now, I still find it really yucky. Sometimes I find myself in these situations, and the pain and the anguish, I don't like to go through it, but because I don't like to go through it, I expand myself out of it. So everything has purpose. And if you just keep going back to that and you keep figuring things out, and if you're going through something in your life, there's a purpose, there's a reason why behind it. And if you can find your why, usually that will help you expand out of the situation, or at least get you moving along your path so that you can do what you need to do next.
Absolutely. So this is the density where we really do get to have, pizza and ice cream and cheesecake and all the good things like that. And these are things we can recreate in our mind when we're out of it. We can imagine ourselves in amazing places, beautiful scenery, and it is truly a construct of our mind, as we are consciousness. That's exactly what we are. We have truly come into these vehicles in order to explore something in a temporary basis that is not our normal state of being. And we do this again and again. As Cindy said, often it's truly out of boredom. It really, really is. It's even said, if you look clearly, not so much that it's karma that traps the soul into these cycles. It's the desire. You could say it's the lust of cheesecake. It's the lust of pizza. It's the lust of everything that makes this existence wonderful, that draws us back into it and saying, I'm going to go dive in again, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and go through the good, bad, and the ugly, and have these experiences, because after all, I got forever to simply be me outside of this experience.
So definitely enjoy where you're at now, because it is something truly, it's a gift. It's a huge, huge gift that we get to experience and that Source has given us to experience.
Absolutely. Look forward to your comments and questions. Much love. Again, thanks for being part of this family. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.